All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. Think of this as your high-yield exam review, kind of like a survival guide for navigating the macro trends that are literally going to dictate your future career. We're looking really closely at India's shifting demographic landscape today. We're moving away from that old narrative of a population explosion into this new phase of demographic maturation. And let me tell you, the implications for your job, your taxes, and your business opportunities, they are absolutely massive.
I actually want you to ask yourself right now, are you truly prepared for the looming closure of India's demographic window? Because the numbers we're about to look at are basically going to change everything you thought you knew about our labor market. The playbook that worked for the last 10 years? Yeah, that's definitely not the playbook that's going to work for the next 20.
So, here's your quick study guide for navigating India's economic future. We'll be hitting the demographic timeline, the aging population challenge, future youth employment trends, circular talent gain, and finally, your specific career strategy. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the demographic timeline, and mapping out the actual data.
Okay, so this perfectly lays out your career timeline. We're walking from today's massive 380 million strong Gen Z workforce boom, right through the strategic milestone of the proposed 2036 Olympics, which, by the way, is going to demand incredible infrastructure. And then we hit the critical 2041 peak. That is the exact year our working-age population hits its absolute zenith, at 1.09 billion people. By 2051, our total population will plateau around 1.59 billion, but the catch is that working-age base will have already started shrinking by then.
Now, notice this single critical number, 1.9 to 2.0. Our national total fertility rate has decisively dropped below the replacement level of 2.1. This sub-replacement fertility basically means the foundation for future population decline is already set in stone. So as projections look toward 2051, this narrowing base at the bottom of our population pyramid is completely reshape our workforce. It's a real game changer.
Moving on to Section 2, the aging population challenge, or what we're calling the gray surge.
The crucial point here is this contrast. Right now, we're riding the high of a youth bulge, right? We've got a super favorable dependency ratio and a median age of about 29. But we are rapidly accelerating toward a gray surge. By 2051, our national median age is going to climb to 40. And that is going to place an unprecedented caretaking, pension, and tax burden on young professionals. Plus, it comes with a really high risk of increasing unpaid care work, specifically a care penalty that disproportionately impacts women in the workforce.
Just look at how this gray surge builds over time. By 2036, the elderly demographic will hit 230 million, and by 2051, it absolutely explodes to 325.3 million people. That's a massive 20.5% of our total population. Literally 1 in 5 citizens will be over the age of 60. This is going to fundamentally alter our fiscal cushion and force a massive redesign of our entire financial and healthcare architecture.
And that brings us to Section 3, Future Youth Employment Trends and the Playbook You Need to Follow.
Okay, putting on my career advisor hat, here's a key exam takeaway for you. If you want to be happily and lucratively employed in a decade, you need to target these emerging sectors. Specifically, keep your eye on the silver economy. Innovating in things like remote monitoring, assisted living, and elder tech, that is going to boom to cater to our aging citizens. Then there's manufacturing. The government's PLI schemes have already pulled in over 1.76 lakh crore in investments and created over 12 lakh jobs. And of course, technology and digital services, powered by our digital public infrastructure. UPI recently processed an unprecedented 172 billion transactions in a single year. That's just wild.
The sheer scale of this opportunity is honestly massive. As the economic survey data points out, our services exports recently hit an all-time record of $387.5 billion in FY25. That is a really robust 13.6% year-on-year growth. So it basically proves that tech, financial, and business services remain an absolute powerhouse for job creation and resilience, even when global supply chains are getting disrupted.
Plus, opportunity isn't just locked up in the traditional megacities anymore. There's this working paper from the Economic Advisory Council to the PM that talks about hidden urbanization. Basically, it means Tier 2 cities are becoming massive growth hubs for young talent. We're talking cities like Surat, Agra, Nagpur, and Vijayawada. They're projected to be among the fastest growing cities in the world. Decentralized job creation is absolutely vital right now,
and companies are actively expanding their talent pools way outside the major metros to find qualified people.
Now, let's jump to Section 4, Circular Talent Gain and our Global Strategy.
So instead of fearing the old idea of brain drain, we actually need to leverage what's called circular talent gain. You see, while Europe and East Asia are facing extreme labor shortages and shrinking populations, we can step in. We can strategically position our surplus youth as the global talent pool of choice. It's brilliant, really, turning what was once considered a loss into a massive global advantage for us.
Here's how the playbook works in 3 simple steps. First, you train locally in specific, high-demand vocational skills that match up with international standards. Second, you migrate using structured, legal, global labor mobility partnerships. And third, you eventually bring that unparalleled global expertise and wealth right back home. To put the scale of this into perspective, India consistently receives over $135 billion annually in remittances. That keeps us firmly in the #1 spot globally as the highest recipient. No way we should ignore that.
Finally, let's wrap up our syllabus with Section 5, Your Career Strategy and How You Can Adapt for 2041.
This quote from Paul Prasini over at the World Bank perfectly sums up the lesson here. He highlights that boosting private sector-led growth is critical. Because look, even as India stays among the fastest-growing major economies, we're projected at 6.6% in FY27, navigating this demographic shift requires deep integration with private sector innovation. The government is definitely laying the groundwork with digital infrastructure and mobility partnerships, but the relentless personal upskilling, adapting to this new environment, well, that part is entirely up to you.
What you absolutely must take away from this explainer is that our demographic dividend is temporary. It is not permanent. You basically have until roughly 2041 to establish yourself and maximize your productivity before the labor market and dependency ratios dramatically shift. After 2041, we transition from this youth-driven growth phase into an aging, heavily fiscally demanding demographic regime. The clock is ticking.
So, as we conclude this review, I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. The macro data for 2041 is already written. The fertility rates have dropped, the aging curve is locked in, and these new growth hubs are already emerging. The economic landscape is set. But is your career strategy ready for it? Use this data to your advantage, upskill strategically, and I'll see you in the next explainer.